Hey guys, welcome to my channel where I help you become your best self through better health. So last week we talked about, or I shared with you my ways that I reach my daily water goals. With it being really hot, we're in summertime now and it's 90 degrees here, which is insane. I want to make sure that you guys are staying healthy and hydrated. So I shared with you ways that I reach my daily water goal. So if you've yet to go watch that, make sure you go do that wherever it's going to be. And I share tips with you so you can do the same. Okay, so do that. So this week, what I wanted to share with you is a simple guide to the healthiest water, because there's so much water out there and it can kind of be confusing, and not all water is created equal. So I kind of wanted to go over some of the best water and then also some of the worst water out there. Okay, so if that sounds good to you, let's get started. So I'm often asked, like, Jennifer, what's the easiest, quickest thing that I can do to get healthy and lose weight? And while there's no shortcuts to achieving your long-lasting best health, the answer that I always reply with is drink more water. It's so simple, yet so overlooked. And I really am dumbfounded and really, just shocked when I hear people don't drink water. I'm like, how are you not drinking an important element that our body is made up over 70% of, and it helps our body perform at an optimal level? It's like, how are you going without drinking water? I don't get it. So this is why I want to share with you guys, and it's so important, right? So this is why I want to share with you the simplest and the healthiest ways that you can get your water, which is in the other video, but also how you can increase your water, but then the quality of water, because not only is it important how much water you're consuming, it's also the quality of water that you're consuming that makes a huge difference. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So again, I'm going to share with you the worst water and the best water that you should be consuming. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with the different types of water, the dangers and their benefits. Okay, so we're going to start with tap water. Tap water is the most common and also the most contaminated. So if you weren't aware, all tap water is contaminated, okay? And it's contaminated because it's loaded with the chemicals from our produce when we wash off our produce. And it also is laced with pharmaceutical drugs from our water system. So it's also known that it's high in estrogen. So from women taking birth control. And that has been known to show infertility or sperm count issues with men. So if you're drinking tap water, I would highly recommend you not drink tap water unless you're using a filtration system. Even then, I don't recommend tap water, because all filtration systems different filtration systems remove different chemicals. And so you could be your filtration system could leave certain chemicals than other ones, right? So I just recommend that you don't drink tap water. I don't even use it for my cooking. I actually buy extra separate water for cooking purposes. So tap water, don't recommend. It's laced with chemicals, pesticides, pharmaceutical drugs from the water waste, from the toilets. We don't want any of that, right? So let's not do tap water, okay? So next, let's move on to purified water, okay? So purified water is really just a glorified term for tap water. Yes, you heard right. So glorified tap water, that's really all that is on our shelves these days. And it's really kind of unfortunate, because it literally is just glorified tap water, and it's in a bottle. So they package it up and it's put in a bottle, and most of the purified water is coming from municipal water plants, i.e. your toilet and water systems. Okay, so again, another just glorified term for tap water. So if you didn't know, 47.8% of our bottled water is coming from municipal water plants, like I just said. So, and that's according to a survey done by beverage marketing corporations. So again, meaning that most purified water is coming from your local water plants systems, and also to remove those chemicals, it takes harsh chemicals. So you're consuming just glorified tap water on top of other harmful chemicals that could still be in the water system. And also too, the FDA does not regulate or make companies, put their location or how it's sourced, and then also the processes or the methods that they use to process the water, which is, in my opinion, kind of crazy, right? So it doesn't require companies to disclose their source or their treatment methods, which is, I think, bananas. But anyway, all right, let's move on to, so that's tap and purified. Let's move on to distilled. So distilled is kind of popular, mostly within the bodybuilding world. That's kind of how when I got introduced to distilled water a long time ago. And distilled water is really the process of boiling water, which actually produces more fluoride, which is something that you want to stay away from, which I'll get to another time because that's a whole other story for a whole nother day. But distilled water comes from boiling the water to remove the impurities. But what happens is when you're boiling that water, not only are you increasing the more fluoride, but you are also removing minerals that could be beneficial to the water, okay, or to you. So distilled water is really not the best. And it's also known to leach minerals from your body like calcium because it's not, there's no chemical or minerals in that water. So it's known to leach the minerals from your body as you're consuming it. So distilled water is not a good option as well, in my opinion, all right? So now, I'll wait to that one because that's actually going on to the next one, which is reverse osmosis. So reverse osmosis, just as with distilled water, removes the harmful contaminants, but it also actually removes the beneficial minerals as well. So with reverse osmosis or distilled water, if you're choosing to drink those, it's highly recommended that you add mineral drops to your water so that your body can absorb those minerals that your body needs, okay? So the calcium, the potassium, the magnesium, and all of that your body is missing when you're drinking distilled and reverse osmosis. So it's kind of like it removes the contaminants, but it also removes the beneficial minerals. So it really doesn't make any sense to drink it unless you're adding the minerals, okay? The mineral drops, which you can get those at any local food, grocery store, and all that good stuff, okay? All right, next let's move on to spring water. So spring, as it states, comes from a spring, well, mostly. Spring water is one of the best waters that you can drink. It's natural, it's clean, and it's sourced coming from a spring from the earth, okay? So this water contains the natural minerals that your body actually produces and also needs to contain and absorb, and like the magnesium, calcium, and potassium. However, with the marketing ploys, not all spring water is created equal. And so it really is, up to you important that you do your due diligence to making sure that wherever the back of that label, the food company says that it's sourced from, you double check and check their processes, how they process it, their methods, and making sure it's actually coming from a spring, okay? Because some people, again, just like with natural and whole grain and all these other marketing ploys and labels that the health industry is using, it's not for us, it's really for sales. And I'll get into that later. It's really not about being transparent and honest, but spring water is really one of the best waters that you can drink if it's coming from a natural source or a natural spring, okay? Because it's coming from the earth. But again, just because it's labeled spring doesn't necessarily mean that it's spring. Again, FDA and a lot of these regulations are there's blurred lines, which makes it really crazy. And it makes it that some companies can label things as they're not, which again is unfortunate, okay? Well water. So well water is similar to spring water, being that it is, coming from a mineral spring or underground reservoir. Therefore, like spring water, well does contain those natural minerals that our body creates, again, such as the calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. But one drawback to the mineral water is that it could be too high in sodium. So some brands their sodium is too high. So if you're following a low sodium diet, you definitely want to check for that if the sodium is too high for you. Okay, so mineral water is a good source because it's natural, it's coming from a mineral spring, and yeah, it's really good. So mineral water is good. Just check for your sodium if you're following a low sodium diet. All right. alkaline. Ooh, I bet you guys are waiting for the alkaline one, right? So while it is a good option, it's mostly a marketing scam. Sorry. And I don't recommend drinking it on a consistent basis. This is because alkaline water has a higher pH with the intention to alkaline the body. However, the body's natural pH is meant to be neutral and somewhere in between 7.35 and 7.45. So in other words, you don't want your body to be too acidic and you don't want your body to be too alkaline, which can throw off your body's natural pH. So in essence, you want your body to maintain a level of homeostasis. And if you're too acidic, which that's where disease and illness is housed, that can be an issue. And then if you're too alkaline, you could be missing out on key vitamins and minerals. So alkaline is a great choice, but it's also a marketing ploy, and I don't recommend drinking it on a consistent basis for those reasons. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And I can go into that detail in another video later time, but it's mostly a marketing ploy. And so stop spending all of your money on unnecessary water. Okay, so speaking of acidic, sparkling water. Sparkling water is the next one I want to talk about. And sparkling water is infused with carbon dioxide gas under pressure. So while sparkling water is a great change, to drinking flat water, it is a little bit more on the acidic side. Like I said, speaking on acidic. So I don't recommend consuming that on a consistent basis either. It's good to drink sparingly. And if you're a soda drinker who likes that fizz, then it's a great alternative to sodas, obviously. Just make sure that the water is not loaded with artificial sweeteners and chemicals, which actually defeats the purpose. Okay, so sparkling water, a little more on the acidic side, so drink it sparingly, okay? Now, what water do I recommend, or do I drink and do I recommend to my clients? Do you have an idea? Spring and mineral, plain and simple. So spring and mineral, it's ethical, it's clean, it's natural, it has the natural occurring minerals in there, and it's been sourced from, the earth, with the natural minerals that benefit the body. So that's what I drink. I double check and make sure whatever water that I get, with it being spring, that it's coming from a natural source, and that I check the websites and all of that good stuff. So it's always good to do your due diligence, like I said before, because just because it's labeled spring doesn't necessarily mean that it is accurate, okay? So again, because the companies and the government don't really have our best interests at heart, and so it's our job to do the investigation on what we're purchasing and what we're putting into our bodies, okay? So real quick and simple, some water guidelines, because if you are not drinking enough water, so now you know the quality of water that you should be drinking and staying away from. Now how much? And again, if you haven't watched the other video, how I reach my daily water goal, make sure you go do that. So you're probably wondering, how much you should be drinking to stay hydrated. So too much water causes nutrient imbalances, and too little water causes dehydration with fatigue, headaches, all of those kind of things. So you can have dehydration and overhydration, and we don't want either. The 8-ounce glass recommendation is so outdated, as with most of our nutrition and health recommendations these days. And a gallon a day, the most recent gallon a day water recommendation, is not accurate either, and it's not for everyone, so I don't recommend that. So and that's because while with food, everybody's body needs different recommendations or different requirements, food and or nutritional and water wise. And again, it's based on age, gender, and physical activity and your weight. So it's important that you calculate how much water you need to be drinking specific to you. But no worries, it's not a crazy algebra calculation. It literally is, you just divide your weight by 2, and that's how many ounces of water you should be drinking a day. So for instance, if you're 150 pounds, you divide that by 2, which is 75 ounces. And then there you go. That's your daily water intake that you should be consuming specifically for you. Now, if your physical activity increases, then obviously, your water can increase. So that 75 ounces is a good baseline that you need to be drinking. But I don't need to be drinking, or whoever, that example doesn't need to be drinking a gallon a day, because a gallon is 128 ounces. And again, that can cause nutrient imbalances by flushing out much needed vitamins and minerals in your body. So a gallon a day, and just do it specific to you. do that body weight calculation, divide your weight by 2. And that's how many ounces of water that you should be drinking a day. So a disclaimer that I shared in the last video, again, make sure you go check that out, how I reach my daily water goal, is that you will have to use the bathroom more. So the more water that you drink, the more times you're gonna have to visit the bathroom. But that's just a trade-off that you're going to have to take, because for a healthy, hydrated body. Again, I don't understand how people don't drink water. It is an essential element that we need, and our body's made over 70% of it. So make sure you drink your water, and if you need some help, go check out my last video with some tips, all right? So that's it for this video. If you have found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe. And that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye. And oh, before I go, if you leave any comments, leave comments, questions, what kind of water you like, because water does have different tastes, and water does taste different. Water is water, but different water has different tastes. And again, it's part of the process and how it's filtrated and the whole process. So leave me your comments, what kind of water you drink, what do you like, and if you learned anything with this video, again, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.